raise the kid and then the major.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us here on One America News. I'm Alex Salvi, and our top story this hour, we're learning new information about Congressman Adam Schiff's involvement in the Ukraine scandal. One America News obtained government documents today showing Schiff sent House Intelligence Committee staffers to Ukraine. The trip took place from August 24th to the 31st, 12 days after receiving the whistleblower complaint, and the same week that Schiff posted his tweet about a Ukrainian military aid being withheld. Now, Schiff authorized the travel on July 22nd, prompting the trip in which the staffer met directly with former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. The trip was sponsored by a think tank funded by George Soros, where the co-founder of the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike is a senior fellow. And an attorney for the so-called Ukraine says they're continuing to discuss a potential testimony before Congress. The whistleblower is reportedly in talks with members of both parties in the House and the Senate. The sides are coordinating and finalizing the logistics of upcoming interviews, but no date or time has yet been set. Reports say the upcoming testimony may not be an under oath interview, but rather a meeting with lawmakers. The whistleblower's attorney says they're working to protect their client's identity. And in the meantime, new reports reveal the original whistleblower form had been doctored to allow for secondhand accounts less than a month before the leaker accused President Trump of wrongdoing. Winberg Chanel Rion has the details from the White House.
Another piece of the Ukraine story crumbles for the Democrats in what appears to be a growing correlation between disintegrating evidence and Democrat passion for impeaching President Trump. In this latest development, federal documents reveal the whistleblower form was altered the month before the complaint against Trump broke. This alteration was no small detail. The form, officially called Disclosure of Urgent Concern, was found to have undergone a mysterious secret revision in August. The original form required that in order for a whistleblower to be considered a whistleblower, they had to have first-hand information. Fast forward to the new whistleblower form, the bold letters "first-hand information required" was gone. Under this now missing bold headline was the following requirement. The IG cannot transmit information via the Whistleblower Act based on an employee's second-hand knowledge of wrongdoing. This entire section of the form was outright removed and under opaque circumstances. The so-called Ukraine whistleblower was ultimately found to not have heard the information firsthand, but this alteration of the form allowed the individual to come forward as a, quote, whistleblower. Veterans in the intelligence community say when a policy this big is altered this drastically, it is no coincidence. The next question becomes, who would have overseen this mysterious change? Cue CIA Director Gina Haspel. Not only would she have known of the change in the document, CIA veterans tell me Haspel is very likely to have authorized the change herself. Haspel has long held suspicious ties to one of President Trump's most vocal critics in the intelligence world, Obama CIA Chief John Brennan, a reported Muslim convert and a liberal communist. Brennan is one of Trump's most influential haters, vocally expressing his disdain for the president almost daily. It turns out now CIA Director Haspel was handpicked twice for Chief of Station London by John Brennan himself. A second posting is highly unusual in the diplomatic world. Her time as station chief in London coincided with the manufacturing of the now infamous Steele dossier, right there in London. Another rabid anti-Trump former intelligence member was the FBI's Peter Strzok, who made multiple personal trips to London. Intel community notes that this too was highly unusual for a person of his position. Underlings were usually tasked with such trips. Inside sources say that Haspel and Strzok would have had a working relationship. But the anti-Trump connections don't end there for Haspel. Two of John Brennan's main three lieutenants, known as his closest aides, are now working directly for Haspel. One was pulled out of retirement to be placed on her team. As Congress and the public start questioning the suspicious circumstances surrounding the Ukraine leaker story, some members of the intel community say it is only a matter of time before some not too coincidental connections could reveal the CIA's role in a potential conspiracy to oust the president. Chanel Rion, One American News, the White House.
Trump administration officials are reportedly planning an effort to battle the Democrat push for impeachment. According to NBC News today, the president's advisors say they will not leave calls for impeachment unanswered. The impeachment counter-effort is reportedly being prepared by Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and White House counsel Pat Cipollone. The plan is expected to focus on the president's policy achievements and rally his allies, including Steve Bannon. President Trump says Democrat Party officials have started a war against his cabinet.
We're fighting to drain the swamp, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And you see why we have to do it. Because our country is at stake like never before. It's all very simple. They're trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you, and I'll never let that happen.
The Trump administration's plan could be unveiled as soon as Monday. And Democrats are looking to expand the focus of their impeachment probe past the president's call with the Ukrainian leader. When Rick's Alicia Britton explains.
Democrats are seeking access to all of the president's phone conversations with leaders just days after he released a transcript of his call with the Ukrainian president. While speaking on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, House Intel Chair Adam Schiff said Congress is determined to access his calls with Russia's President Vladimir Putin.
The paramount need here is to protect the national security of the United States and see whether in the conversations with other world leaders, and in particular with Putin, that the president was also undermining our security in a way that he thought would personally benefit his campaign. If those conversations with Putin or with other world leaders are sequestered in that same electronic file that is meant for covert action, not meant for this, if there's an effort to hide those and cover those up, yes, we're determined to find out.
House members want records of the calls to see if the president at any time acted unlawfully while speaking to leaders. Schiff's remarks comes as he too battles pressure to step down. This after he read what many are calling a mock transcript of President's Ukraine call during a hearing. However, the seriousness of the comments led many to believe it was the real thing.
I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, you know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked.
Schiff's committee is leading the investigation into the whistleblower complaint, which claims the president urged Ukraine to probe the Biden family. The whistleblower is expected to testify before Congress. However, it remains unclear when that hearing will take place. Alicia Britton, One America News.
Ukraine's former top prosecutor, who replaced the official investigating Joe Biden's son, claims that Biden did nothing wrong. In an interview with the LA Times, Yuri Lutsenko said that he's ready to cooperate with U.S. law enforcement to prove that Hunter Biden was not involved in corruption schemes in Ukraine. Lutsenko was Ukraine's prosecutor general from mid-2016 until just last month. He claims Ukraine's probe into Biden was inactive at the time his predecessor, Viktor Shokin, was fired. However, Shokin says he had 3 separate probes open and planned to interrogate Biden at the time of his dismissal.
I interviewed General Prosecutor Shokin. He told me on the record that at that very moment he was fired, he was making plans to interview Hunter Biden about this money. There were 3 separate investigations going on at the moment he was fired.
The Ukrainian parliament dismissed Lutsenko as prosecutor general last month amid allegations of state crimes against Ukraine committed between 2016 and 2019. The State Department is investigating the email records of up to 130 current and former officials linked to potential security violations stemming from Hillary Clinton's private email server. Here's the latest in that probe.
The private email server of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is back in the spotlight after a new report by the Washington Post revealed the State Department is nearly complete with its investigation. The news, which broke Saturday, comes approximately 3.5 years after the probe was launched under the Obama administration.
It clearly wasn't the best choice. I should have used 2 emails, one personal, one for work.
The report says State Department investigators have finally completed going through millions of emails on Clinton's private server. Now, as many as 130 officials have been notified. The emails they sent years ago have been retroactively classified, meaning they now constitute potential security violations. Those affected are reportedly senior and lower level officials who either directly reported to Clinton or whose emails were at some point relayed in her inbox. Moving forward, reports say the State Department will continue using standard protocol to carry out and complete the investigation.